Hello class, we're about to start section 4.7, mixed numbers. Now, it says all mixed numbers must be changed to improper fractions before you multiply or divide. Change the final answer back to a mixed number. So we look here at our examples. We have 2 1/5 times 3 4/7. So we need to change these mixed numbers to improper fractions. The first thing you need to remember is your denominators stay the same. Now your numerator, you would take the integer times the denominator. 2 times 5 is 10 plus the numerator. So that's 10 plus 1, which is 11. Now we go here. We add 3 times 7, which is 21, plus 4, which is 25. So now we have 11 times 25 all over 5 times 7. So 11 times 25 will give us 275, and 5 times 7 would give us 35. Now, we can simplify this. 275 and 35 has 5 in common. We can divide the numerator and denominator by 5. Our denominator would be 7. Our numerator would be 55. So now we have 55 over 7. But remember, we were told earlier that we need to change this back to a mixed number. So what we could do is go off to the side and take 7 into 55. 7 goes into 55 7 times. 7 times 7 is 49. 55 minus 49 is 6. So you have a remainder of 6. So your final answer would be 7. Your denominator would be 7. And your numerator would be 6. So your final answer is 7 6/7. Now we come here to number 2. The first thing you notice here, we have a negative divided by a positive. So we know our final answer is going to be negative. We can write our final answer over here. Now, this is what we need to do. We need to change this mixed number to an improper fraction. So we know our denominator would stay 3. 8 times 3 is 24 plus 1 is 25. We don't need to bring the negative down because we have the negative here signifying our answer is going to be negative. Now we divide that by 5. Now this would be 25 over 3 divided by 5 over 1. So we add 25 over 3 times 1 over 5. Now we'll take 25 times 1, which is 25, and 3 times 5, which is 15. Now 25 and 15, they both have 5 in common. So we divide both by 5, and that will give us 5/3. Now we need to change this to a mixed number. We'll take 3 into 5. 3 goes into 5 one time. So we have 5 minus 3, which is 2. So we will have a remainder of 2. So we'll write our final answer. We know it's going to be negative. So we add -1. Our denominator would be 3. And our numerator would be 2. So our final answer is a -1 2/3. Now, we scroll down here. And we're just going to use method 2. There's another method where you could change the mixed numbers to fractions and then subtract. But we're going to just use the method of just working with the mixed numbers. Now, the first thing we need to do is line these mixed numbers up. So we had 9 and 8/15 minus 2 and 1/3. Now we have to find a common denominator of 15 and 3. So now, what we would do is this. The common denominator of 15 and 3 is 15. So we know we will multiply this fraction by 1 over 1, and we will multiply this fraction by 5 over 5. So now, we'll carry over the whole numbers, or we should say the integers, and now we will multiply this. 8 times 1 is 8, and 15 times 1 is 15. 3 times 5 is 15, and 1 times 5 is 5. Now we subtract. We subtract the fractions first. 8/15 minus 5/15 is 3/15. And 9 minus 2 is 7. Now we could simplify this 3/15 by dividing the numerator and denominator by 3. So we would have 7 and 1/5 as our final answer. Now we go here to number 2, set it up exactly the same. And I'm going to draw a little line here to separate these two. So we have 4 and 2/9 plus 6 and 1/4. Now, we need to find a common denominator of 4 and 9. We know the common denominator of 4 and 9 is 36. Now, to get 36 for our denominator here, we'll multiply that by 4 and the numerator by 4. To get our common denominator here to equal 36, we'll multiply our denominator here and numerator here by 9. So we'll carry over our 4, and we add 2 times 4 is 8, and 9 times 4 is 36. Now we'll carry over our plus 6 here, and 1 times 9 is 9, and 4 times 9 is 36. Now we will add them. 8 over 36 plus 9 over 36 is 17 over 36, and 4 plus 6 is 10. So our final answer is 10 to 17 over 36. Now we come down here to problem number 3. Now we still line this up. We have 3 and 5/7 plus 4 and 2/3. Now we know the common denominator here would be 21 for 7 and 3. So we multiply this numerator and denominator by 3. And we'll multiply this numerator and denominator by 7. We carry over the whole numbers. And 3 times 5 is 15. And 7 times 3 is 21. 3 times 7 is 21. And 2 times 7 is 14. So now we add them. 15 over 21 plus 14 over 21 is 29 over 21. And 3 plus 4 is 7. Now we know we cannot leave this as 29 over 21. Now we can go off to the side and do this. Let me scroll it up a little bit here. We do have a little room up here. We could take 21 into 29. 21 goes into 29 one time. And we will have a remainder of 8. So we would take this 1 and add it to the 7. So that would make it 8. Our denominator would still be 21, and our numerator would be 8. So this is our final answer. Now we go over here to number 4. Now remember, when you're adding or subtracting and they have the same sign, you add them together and carry the sign. So we know we're going to add these two together and carry the sign. So we could write this as negative 86 and 5/8 minus 49 and 7/10. Draw a little line to separate these. Now, we have to find a common denominator of 8 and 10. Common denominator of 8 and 10 is 40. So I'll multiply this numerator and denominator by 5, and this numerator and denominator by 4. So we'll carry over the integer, which is negative 86, and the fraction would be 25 over 40. We carry over this integer, which is a minus 49, and our fraction would be 28 over 40. 25 over 40 plus 28 over 40 is 53 over 40. And negative 86 and negative 49 will give us a negative 5, carry a 1, a negative 135, 53 over 40. Now we know we cannot leave this as 53 over 40. So we could go up here where we have more room, take 40 into 53. 40 goes into 53 once. 53 minus 40 is 13. So you have a remainder of 13. So now we'll add 1 to this negative 135. That'll give us a negative 136. Our denominator will remain 40 and our numerator will be 13. So this is our final answer. Now, we scroll down here to number 5. Now number 5, we set this up the same way. We add 8 and 1/6 minus 3 and 3/4. Now, a common denominator of 6 and 4 is 12. So we'll multiply this numerator and denominator by 2, and we'll multiply this numerator and denominator by 3. We carry over the integer, which is 8, and the integer on the bottom is a minus 3. This fraction will become 2 over 12, and this fraction will become 9 over 12. Now, unlike the other problems, this bottom fraction is larger than this top fraction here. So that means we have to borrow 1 from this 8. So we'll borrow 1 from this 8 and make it 7. Now, the 1 that we put back with this fraction, we will actually be adding 12 12s to 2 12s. But to make this a little easier, this is what I suggest you do. Okay, we borrowed 1, so we'll carry over this 7. We'll write down all of this bottom mixed number, which would be minus 3 and 9 12ths. Okay, now, for this top mixed number here, your denominator would still be 12, but this is how you would get your numerator when you borrow 1. Just take this denominator and add the numerator. 12 plus 2 is 14. Now, we will have 14 12ths minus 9 12ths, which is 5 12ths. And 7 minus 3 is 4. So your final answer here will be 4 and 5 12ths. Now let's go back through that again. Once we get here, since this bottom fraction is larger than this top fraction, we borrowed 1 from the 8, which is 7. Now, what we would need to do, that 1 we borrowed, we would need to add that to this 2 12ths. You look at your denominator is 12. So what you would do with this 2 12ths, you would add 12 12ths to it. Now this would be that 1 that you borrowed, and that would give you 14 12ths. Now, if you cannot remember that, the method I showed you is a little easier to remember. You borrow 1 from this 8, that gave you 7. Now, your denominator would still be 12, but your numerator would be this denominator plus this numerator. 12 plus 2 gave you 14. And that's a way of doing that. Now, let's take a look at number 6. We have a negative 72 and 2 ninths, and we have a positive 27 2/3. Now, before we get into this being negative or positive, let's first find the common denominator. Common denominator of 9 and 3 is 9. So, since this already has a 9, we'll multiply this by 1 over 1, and we'll multiply this fraction by 3 over 3. So we'll carry over our negative 72, and we'll have 2 ninths. We'll carry over our positive 27 here, and we will have a positive 6 ninths. Now, if you notice here, this fraction is larger than this fraction, so we will borrow 1 from this fraction here and make that 71. So now, we will have a negative 71, we have positive 27 and 6 ninths. Our denominator will still be 9. And remember what I told you, to find the new numerator, we'll take 9 plus 2, which is 11. Now, let's do these fractions here. Now, remember, we're going to subtract them. 11 ninths minus 6 ninths is 5 ninths. Now, when we deal with these numbers out here, these integers, this will determine if our final answer would be positive or negative. So first of all, we know 71 minus 27 will give us 44 actually, not 43. So it'll be 44. Now to determine the sign, since 71 is larger than 27, then it would be negative. So it would be negative 44 and 5 ninths. Now we come here to number 7. We'll set this up the same. We have 1 minus 4 over 52. Now if you notice here, we don't have a fraction with this 1. So we could just make this 1 into the fraction. We could just borrow from this 1 and make that into a fraction. Remember, we could look at the denominator. It would be better if we wrote this so that this will have the numerator and denominator the same as this denominator. So this would be 52 over 52 minus 4 over 52. Now the reason why we do that is because we know we cannot subtract or add fractions unless they have the same denominator. So we have the same denominator here, now we can subtract.